Yeah, so my name is Paul Ruiz. I'm from Ecuador. I'm 35 years old, and I started playing BGC officially in 2015 in my first official event. I started playing unofficial events probably around 2013, like late 2013, early 2014, I remember. But my first official event was in 2015. My achievements, I can say the main one is that I won the World Championships in the Masters Division in 2018. Also, I finished third place the year prior in 2017 at the World Championships in Anaheim. And I've also gotten a couple of international top cuts. I made top 4 at LIC 2019, and I also made top 8 UIC 2023. This international championships, one in Latin America and the other in Europe. I've managed to win a couple of regional events. In 2016 was my first, the Peru regional. I've won a couple of special events in my home country in Ecuador, and a couple of other good results, like a couple of top cuts, second places. I finished second place in Chile also in 2018, second place in Mexico special event in 2018 as well. And a couple of top cuts most recently. I finished top 4 at the Sao Paulo Regional in 2023. I finished top 8 Curitiba Regionals, top 8 Merida Regionals most recently, 2025 season. And yeah, my goal for now is to keep playing as many events as I can and see how far I can get.
Sounds super cool. I will get back to the more recent events right now, but just to get started, I think that what everybody always talks to you about is the 2018 Worlds. So tell us a little bit about how was that experience, and I also want to hear maybe how important was it for Latin America to have you as a champion, and what do you think was the impact on the Latin American scene after 2018?
Yeah, so I think in general that event was like really weird, because the year prior I finished third place and it was my first World Championships in 2017. So I really wanted to do well, but to be fair, I never expected to like made it to the semifinals in my first try. And when I did it, I was like really obviously excited, but at the same time I was a little bit sad that I lost in 3 games in my top 4 match. So at that moment, I was like, oh yeah, it would have been great to be in the finals, but I didn't necessarily care that much at that moment because I was happy to be in the top 4, of course. But then when I went back home, I was reflecting on the tournament. I was like, man, I was so close, like so close. If I maybe made like a different play in that game 3, and I actually remembered the exact moment where I probably could have won the game and I instead lost the game because of a misplay on my end. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, I want to try it next year. If I made it to the top 4 in this world, so maybe there's a world where I can maybe try to push it a little bit further and get to the finals. It was like really weird in the sense because I actually wanted to quit after 2017, and then I didn't. I had a conversation with my wife because I'm married, and we agreed that I could continue, because for a married, person is a little bit harder, I would say, than, for teenagers or for maybe someone that is like studying in college. You have less responsibilities. You can manage your time sometimes at your will. But for someone like me that I was, let's say, married, and I also was obviously working full time, it was harder to dedicate the amount of time needed to compete at a super high level. So I had to be very, very careful with that. And as I said, I initially wanted to quit 2017 and I didn't. So I went back to Worlds in next year, 2018. And the tournament itself was obviously really tough because of the World Championships. I actually started pretty good, 3-0, I remember. And I was feeling really confident with my preparation, with my team. It was something that I thought about the entire season. There are lots of things that happened during that season. There was a moment in time where I also thought I was not going to make it, because in order to attend the World Championships, you have 2 options, or at least we used to have 2 options back in the day. One option was just getting the amount of CPs needed to qualify, and then you competed at day 1. And then the other option was making to the top 8 of your region, in this case Latin America, and then you get an invitation to the day 2 and a paid trip to Worlds. That thing doesn't happen anymore. Like there's no auto day 2 qualification anymore, but that's how BGC worked for the past decade. So for me, it was tough because I was already qualified to the World Championships, but I knew I couldn't attend day 1 because of my work schedule. Like I wasn't able to get 2 days off. I only managed to get 1 day off, which was the Friday of the event, and I couldn't get a second. So I knew that if I don't get to the top 8 of Latin American leaderboards by the end of the season, I don't get the day 2 qualification, I would have to play day 1, and I don't have permission to attend day 1, so I wouldn't attend the World Championships. So it was a really, really stressful season for me because there were moments where I thought like, I'm not going to make it. I'm 9 plays and I need to be 8. And there are like a lot of players playing special events in different parts of the region. Like there was like a double special event weekend on Paraguay where like, and I couldn't attend. So my competition, let's say, were getting a lot of points there and I was not even attending. So I was like, I have to do something. I had to travel to Colombia to play a special event very last minute to see if I can get enough CPs to make it to the 8th place so I can attend the World Championships. And a lot of things happened. Eventually, I thought I was not going to make it, but I actually made it in the 8th place because one player from Peru got sick and couldn't play the second special event in Paraguay. So he would have, I'm pretty sure if he would have played that second special event, because they had one special event on the Saturday and another special event on the Sunday, that was like crazy. I had not seen something like that ever. It was the first and only time something like that happened. So basically you had 400 CPs in one weekend if you attend both and you win both, let's say hypothetically. But from what I was told, this player, Jean Paul Lopez from Peru, played in the first and Saturday. He did well, he didn't win. And then at the night, they went to eat something and he got sick because of the food. So he couldn't play the Sunday one, or he played the first rounds. He was not feeling great. So he had to like just drop the event. And because of that, I managed to make it to the 8th place and I managed to attend the World Championships. And you know the end of the story. I managed to win the World Championships, but I wouldn't have attended if this player would have probably played the second special event. So that's crazy. All those things happened, and I was thinking, let's say, all of that when I was, starting the event on the first day. I was like, okay, I'm here. A lot of things happened. I was not expecting to be here, but if I'm here, I'm going to give my all. It might be for a reason. There is a purpose here. I was dreaming about this day, like, having my chance of redemption after what happened last year. So I'm going to give my all. I started super strong, 3-0, and then I remember I went to the side stream because we had like 2 streams, the main stream, and then we had like a separate like B stream that I believe was streamed for the Japanese audience, from what I remember. So I was in the side stream match, and it was against the player that eventually finished, I believe, 7-0 day 2, because this was day 2, remember? And we went to game 3. I made a super great play. I remember where, like, when I made that play, I was like, it was one of those crazy reads that you have to make sometimes, and I made it. And it was game 3. I was like, okay, I win. But my opponent had one only chance, which was going back to Landers. He was using Landers. Click Rock Slide. Rock Slide has a 30% chance of flinching me. If he gets to flinch, he wins. So basically, I was like, if you don't flinch me, I win this. And I, let's say, make it to the 4-0 record. But he flinched me, and I remember, celebrated like he was winning the World Championships when he got
And also 90% accuracy, right? So it's not only 30%, it's 90 plus 30. Yes.
And then the 30% chance of flinching, and he flinched my Gastrodon where I was going to click Ice Wing into his Landers for a one-hit knockout, and he won. That was game 3, and that was immediately after I made a crazy play. The crazy play, if you guys want to know it, was that my Gastrodon back then was holding the Sea Crystal. It was the mechanic in that generation 7, with Sea Crystals and Sea moves. And I had a Groundium Sea, so I could use a super powerful ground move at any time I want. So I predicted that my opponent's Landers, which is a flying type, is immune to ground moves, but is super weak to ice, and my Gastrodon had Ice Beam, was going to switch into Incineroar. So I was like, I'm going to Earth Power the Landers slot, because Landers would not take any damage from Earth Power, but I'm expecting an Incineroar. And then I was like, but Earth Power wouldn't KO Incineroar because Earth Power is only 90 base power. Incineroar is like, I think it was like full health almost. You know what? I need to go for the Groundium C move. I think it was called Tectonic Rage. And it's my only C move per battle. So this is my only chance. I won't have any other opportunity because you can only use it once per battle. And if Landers doesn't switch out, I'm going to basically waste my C move into an immunity. But I'm super confident he's going to switch out. And he switched out and I made the play and went for the Tectonic Rage into the Incineroar. Incineroar went down in one hit and he was in disbelief. He couldn't believe my play.
Oh my god.
And I was like, yes, this is what I needed to win. And then he brought the Landers back. He clicked Rock Slide, flinched me, and I lost. So it was really heartbreaking after making such a crazy play to lose that way. But I was like, okay, I'm 3-1. I should be 4-0, but I'm 3-1. It's still okay. And then I believe I won the next one, super close. And then I was put on stream. That match is on stream against Carson Comfort. I believe it was round 5 of World Championships 2018 Day 2, and I lost. I remember, what I remember is like I got crit a couple of times from Carson's Pokemon, and also he played really well, but he also crit me a couple of times, and there was also a damage roll involved in his Landers, I believe, and I was like a little bit sad that at that moment, I remember I felt like I lost to RNG because the crits did matter the outcome of the game, in my opinion. Obviously, the matchup was not great, but I still think I could have, let's say, made it to a game 3 at least and fight for it. So I was like, okay, I'm, let's say, about to get eliminated because I'm 4-2. If I lose my last one, I'm out. And after losing round 4 against this Japanese player the way I described, I was feeling really, really sad. And I had to like mentally reset because I knew that my entire season was going to come down to the next round, the final 7 round. And I took a time to breathe. I went out just to like reset mentally. I would say I did cry a little bit because for me, Pokemon is too serious. And everything I had to live the entire year, the entire season, and just knowing that I was 1 round away from being eliminated after playing so well the entire tournament for things that were not in my control really hit me hard. And I say like, okay, this is the last chance I have. I'm probably going to quit after this tournament, so this is my last chance. And I played the last round against a super powerful Italian player. He actually won the Europe International Championships the year after, just to give you an idea of how strong he was. The year after, he won the European International Championship, but at that moment, he was still really strong. He had not won, let's say, that many events, but I knew he was strong. And I managed to win that round, so I made it to the top card. And then in top card, I just basically, after that round, I won every single round 2-0. Like, I didn't lose a single game. Because it's a best of 3, so you can lose 1 game, but you can still win the round if you win 2. So I won 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 until the finals. In the finals, which is on the Pokemon official stream or YouTube channel, I was also able to win 2-0. So, but I was, let's say, super stressed that day and the day prior also because I really needed to do well because for me at that moment, it was my last chance. Like a lot of things happened that eventually made me change my decision of quitting. But it's really funny because the year prior, I gave an interview to a newspaper, like to the media, let's say. And the person that interviewed me called me when I won the World Championship 2018 and said like, hey, didn't you say in our last year's interview that was your last event? Like it's literally written down in the newspaper. And I'm like, yeah, some things changed during the season and I decided to not quit. I didn't lie to you. It was my intention when we had the interview, but then things changed and I decided to give it another try. And yeah, so that win was obviously a game changer for me and for my life. At that moment, I was not really sure of how impactful that was going to be for me, of course. Then things eventually with time started to change and I managed to know how big what I did was for me. And then for the region, I think it was an eye-opener for a lot of players, like saying like, hey, we can do it. Like if this guy did it, we can also try. Like why not? Like it's not a matter of like, hey, if you're not Japanese or if you're not like a North American player or European player, then you don't have chances here. Because that's what a lot of people used to think back then. I think things have changed, of course, in the last years. But back then, there was like a clear, let's say, thought that Latin American players were not good enough. There was like, I remember 2017. Yeah, that we didn't have what it takes to compete with them. There was like even like a meme that US players they were a little bit rude, to be honest, back then. I do want to say things have changed in the most recent years. But back then they were memeing like about like, hey, we sleep on LATAM. And that was like the slogan they were using on Twitter. Like, hey, we sleep on LATAM. And I remember like reading those tweets and saying like, why do you guys act so rude with us? We just want to play the game. And because until then, you know, the Pokemon World Champions were mainly Japanese, American, and there was like one European World Champion, Arashimari. So, and we didn't have any like strong representation until then. So they were like, oh, Latin American, those guys are free, like we sleep on them. And with that like mindset, I attended my 2017 and 2018 Worlds, like saying like, hey, I'm gonna prove you guys that we can do it. So I think the overall conclusion is that 2018 was an eye-opener for a lot of people, especially for people from all around the world. If you pay attention to what the caster said when I win my finals, he says, wake up world, because Paul Ruiz is your first ever Latin American world champion. And I know that phrase because I have watched that finals like probably 100 times.
Yeah.
So he ends the cast and like game 2 cast saying wake up world. He said that because there was this slogan of sleeping on LATAM. So I took that personal, let's say, and I was like, I'm gonna prove that my region has everything needed to compete. Like, we don't believe that we are less than anyone. And I think that was a confidence boost for me. And I hopefully showed that with my people saying, hey guys, I did it. You guys can do it. You just have to try hard, of course, but don't feel that you are less than anyone.
That's super, super cool. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Like, it's RNG starts when other people are having dinner, you know, it's down to luck. It's a very butterfly effect that can affect the entire of play, but it's crazy that once you locked in, it's 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, all the way to the end. So that's super impressive. And I know it's been 7 years, but congratulations again.
Thank you.
And I was thinking while you were saying, like, do you think that what was the reason that international players were sleeping on LATAM as a region back then? Do you think it was more because, why did we have more difficulties? Was it really because we didn't have anybody to look up to? Or do you think it's because we had less events that we could practice in than maybe Japan or the US have? Or
Yeah. So it probably was a combination of things. The main one probably was that we as a region were not introduced to the circuit until 2013, I think. So they played Worlds 2009. I believe it was the first one was 2008. So 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, without Latin players. We didn't exist for the official circuit. So we were included on the circuit, I believe 2013, with only some countries. I believe it was like Argentina, Mexico, Chile, Peru, maybe like 4 countries. I'm not completely sure on that. And then more Latin countries were introduced by 2015. Ecuador, for example, was not included in the 2013-2014 official circuit. So if I wanted to play the World Championships, I would have to register myself as Argentinian or Brazilian, because Ecuador just was not part of the circuit. And then Ecuador was part of the circuit in 2015. And that's where, like, late 2015, basically that was 2016 season, but it was still 2015 year, like by December, I believe, November, December 2015. So probably it was the combination of like, hey, Latin American just doesn't exist in the circuit because you guys don't have, enough countries to participate. And the few countries that participated, we were new, so maybe they saw us like weak players because we didn't have maybe enough tournaments to prepare ourselves and things like that. And the online, let's say, scene was not that strong back then. I would say it's way stronger nowadays. But back then, we didn't have like a lot of online tournaments or things like that. There were a few in most like ladder battles, but yeah, it was probably because of this, and also because the other possible option was because they just felt that, you know, there's like this ego thing in this, like in any competition. Like they probably felt that they were like just better because like, hey, we play with the Japanese and everyone thinks the Japanese players are like monsters in the game, and you guys, like, who are you? Like, we don't even know, like, what's your country? Like, I don't even know where that is. Like, you know, that kind of mindset that happens in real life also translates into the, you know, the video game scene. So probably was a combination of that. I initially thought that was like a joke, but then when they kept saying it, I was like, these guys are really thinking seriously about it. Like, they're just really like rude, and I don't like that. So that was my motivation to say, like, I'm gonna try my best and I'm gonna prove them that we do have whatever it takes to compete at the highest level. Like, I'm not sure if we're gonna win, but I'm gonna try. And it's funny because 2017 we had 4 Latin American players make it to the top 8 of the World Championships. 4. We had Rene Alvarenga from El Salvador, myself, of course, from Ecuador. We had Sebastián Escalante from Argentina, and Dorian Quinones from Peru. So we had 4 Latin American players in the top 8 bracket. And even with that, they were joking like, yeah, but that's not after the event. I remember US players joking, saying like, yeah, but none of you guys made it more than top 8. And I was like, hey, I made it. Like, I made it to top 4. And their answer was like, yeah, but you did it because you had to play another Latin American player in the top 8. So it was like, it doesn't count. And I was like, bro, like, are you serious?
That's just
so... Like, okay, I have a mission.
Yeah. So petty.
Yeah, so I have a mission, and I have to try again the next year. That's what I felt at that moment.
And bringing it back to now, because you have a YouTube channel now, you offer coaching sessions also to newer VGC players. How do you feel this has changed? Mostly talking about newer players from Ecuador and also maybe from other countries in Latin America. How do you think this has changed when new players approach you? What are they feeling when they come for you for advice? Or
yeah, it's funny because, as you said, like, I work as a coach. I've been working as a coach for like probably 6 years, but most of my, let's say, clients, because of paid service, are not from Ecuador. They're not even from Latin America. I have been focusing on this, and obviously I'm open to anyone. I have had people from Latin America, of course, and I do love when people from my region come for me for like coaching. But my main, like, let's say, audience has been American players, like United States players or like European players even. But when Latin American players come to me, I always give them, let's say, my perspective on how they can, let's say, motivate themselves to try hard in this, let's say, circuit. Like, something like, hey, don't feel that you are less than anyone just because you are not from the US or you are not from Europe or from Japan. That is a mindset that we have to change, that I managed to change maybe myself. Although I never felt like that, but they were like constant voices saying like, hey, you're not good enough because your passport is from like a weak country or something like that. I was like, no, like, I was like trying to shut down those voices in my head saying like, no, I can do it. So I do know a lot of people that unfortunately feel like that until this day. Like, they just feel they're not good enough. And they show me in the way they speak and the way they approach things. Like, hey, this is a game where, like, if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to do it for you. So if you want to be good, of course, there are lots of things you have to focus on, more like technical stuff, practice, real dedication, knowing how to practice, how to study the game, what things you have to focus, develop your skill sets, things like that. Of course, they're super important, but there's one thing that is also extremely important, which is the right mindset. So just motivating yourself, saying, hey, I want to try it. I want to, prove myself that I can compete with the best of the best, right? So that's something that I always try to, let's say, incorporate in my coaching sessions when I'm with Latin American people. When I'm with US people, I don't necessarily include that because they have another mindset. It's a different region.
They're worried
For
about
my
other
people,
things. They don't need to worry about visa. They just
they have a lot of simplicity in how they want to approach, and that's good for them. That obviously is not their fault, but for Latin American people is a little bit harder, because some people come to me just wanting to maybe prepare for an event or maybe know something specific. But the first thing is, like, obviously there's like this paywall, right? Like even in my coaching sessions, like one of the reasons why maybe a lot of people don't come to me is because I charge maybe more than what they think they can afford. But for American people, I know there are other coaches in North America that charge even more than me. And of course, the economy is different. They just don't care. They pay it. Yep. But for Latin American people, it's like, oh yeah, $30, $40, that's like probably too much for me. I would think twice if I want to do it.
But you need to pretend it's...
Yeah, and then like, hey, maybe there's like, for example, in Brazil, I believe you guys don't have dollars as the like main currency, so it's like reais. So you have to also consider that. So I understand we have a lot of difficulties. This is just an example in the coaching area, but also like travel to different events and sometimes like visa issues. Just like competing in this, let's say, circuit is expensive. For some people is cheaper than others. Like, for example, for people like me, it's super expensive, but that's not anyone's fault.
Yeah.
It's because I live in a country that is super expensive for like traveling things. Like the average for me to travel to another country in Latin America is around $600.
Yeah.
When I travel to Sao Paulo, I have to pay $600.
And that's for each regional you want to play, because most of them, are in separate countries as well. So
when I travel to Mexico, is around $600. When I travel to Chile, is around $450. But like if you ask, like I have some Argentinian friends, for them traveling to Brazil is like $150 to $200 at most. So it's way cheaper. And obviously for a Brazilian is way cheaper as well, because it's in your own country. Maybe you have to, local flight or something like that. But if you guys want to travel to a different, obviously, tournament, you obviously have to pay also for like United States, things like that, or maybe for a different region even. So it's expensive. I won't deny that. So you have to be very, conscious about it. Like, hey, if I want to take this seriously, I would probably need to travel if I really want to qualify. And that is obviously a barrier. Like, not everyone has the let's say the privilege of putting money out of pocket for this hobby. And I do believe that there is a huge entry barrier, although there are some things that have probably minimized that impact a little bit nowadays. For example, we have online events that nowadays give CPs, a lot of CPs. They're called global challenges. So you can play online from home. It's not the same as an actual real person event, but at least you have an option to also get championship points that way. We have increased the amount of regionals overall in the region. Like people from Mexico have now 3 regionals this season. Brazilian players have 3 regionals and an international championship. So it's like 4 events. So people from other countries like Ecuador, we do have a really bad luck. We don't have events. We have to 100% travel to another country if we want to like at least compete. But that's just how it is. Like it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate part of the just like general, let's say, structure. Like
how you compete internationally, right? You need to go to places, right?
You need to, exactly. If you want to take it seriously, of course, you have to be aware that you have to probably put some sort of money in this.
Yes.
Like it's impossible to qualify to the World Championships without expending money. It's just impossible. Like even if it's in your like local country, let's say a Brazilian player, you still probably have to put some money, because let's say you live in Sao Paulo, but like they're hosting an event in Curitiba or like Goiânia or another like Rio de Janeiro, you have to travel. So maybe it's obviously cheaper than an international flight, but it's still money at the end of the day. So you have to put some money in this competition if you want to at least have a chance at qualifying. And then, but there's also obviously the opportunity to recover some of that money.
Yeah.
Because we do have prize money. It's like if you are, let's say, good enough, you can make it to top 16. You have, I believe, is like $750. And then if you make it to the top 8, you have $1,000. You know, there is the opportunity to recover some of that money if you do well. So yeah, it's a circuit. Of course, you have to invest your time and some of your money, and there's an opportunity to recover some of that or even more than that if you're good enough. So there's always that motivation, of course.
Yes, it's a lot of dedication. You have to keep days of work or take days off work. So it's always, and it's international travel as well. So it's never that simple. But what I was thinking while you were speaking as well was about Pokemon Champions, which we saw the first trailer of yesterday. And I also feel like a big barrier for Latin American competitors is, the Nintendo Switch is also an expensive device for a lot of people. So now we are seeing VGC potentially being available on everybody's phones. So I wanted to ask what your expectations are with these new games for the future of VGC and also for Latin America as a region.
So I have mixed feelings, I would be honest. I do have a lot of positivity about it. I feel like it's great that we are finally getting a battle-focused official game after decades. I think the last one was Pokemon Stadium 2, I believe.
Or Battle Revolution, I would say, yeah.
Or Battle Revolution, yeah, probably that one. And that was not even official because I believe we didn't have like the official play Pokemon circuit back then. I believe from what I was told, there was a feature back in the Diamond Pearl games where you obviously those games were on the Nintendo DS, not even the 3DS, the DS.
Yeah.
But there was a feature where like you could, and I believe they did it on the first Hawaiian like Worlds, where like you can play on the Battle Revolution Nintendo GameCube game with your like syncing your DS, your Diamond Pearl games. So that was pretty cool.
It's technically a 3D fight, but it's on the DS, so it's just
exactly. Yeah. So basically, this is the first time we're getting like an official battle-focused game or the official circuit. So because it's not confirmed, but it's at this point it's pretty obvious. Like they're obviously launching this game for the official circuit, right? It's like battle-focused. So the hype is there. Is like, oh, that maybe opens the door for a lot of interesting innovations that can be made if the game is purely focused on battling. That's great because you don't have the barrier of like, hey, we have to put resources into the story mode, put resources into the graphics for the story mode, or like everything that we already know as Pokemon fans that they have to deal with. But now if this is like only for battles, that's amazing because that means we have more flexibility to do things that are battle focused, that like maybe add more features, like add more like, arenas or like stadiums or better like graphics, animations, moves animations. Like this is on paper, obviously a great thing for the BGC community. And the fact that it is on mobile is where like I have my mixed feelings. Because on one hand, I love that it would open more opportunities for anyone because at this point everyone has a mobile device, of course, right? So the barrier for having a Nintendo Switch just for battles obviously would be gone if you have your mobile. However, I have my mixed feelings because I'm not sure if we can accomplish the let's say high expectations I have for a battle only game if it's also for mobile, because then they can say like, yeah, but like maybe the graphics are not going to be that good because for mobile it's going to be different, like it's going to be hard to,
you need to run it on older mobiles as well. So
exactly, so that's where like I have my mixed feelings. Like if they manage to make it like good looking and like put a lot of effort into making the game look great and like polish it and still make it available to mobile devices, it would be the perfect world. So on one hand, it's amazing for accessibility. It's amazing for like, breaking those barriers and allowing any kind of, just person to play the game if they want to. And on the other hand, there's a huge challenge, in my opinion, in terms of the quality of the game if it's also for mobile, right? So I want to see how they can handle this. But it's obviously a positive thing for the scene, that's for sure.
Sounds good. I think this was a great conversation. I think that like I had some bullet points planned, but we kind of went through most of them without a direct question. So I will just focus down on a few very direct questions so I can put you side by side with also the other people I will be featuring on this video. So it's gonna sound a little bit off topic, but I wanted to ask you if maybe not your World's 2018 team, but do you have a favorite team that you've ever used, and why would that be?
Oh, well, I think it's pretty obvious that I would answer 2018 because that's a team I won Worlds with. But besides the obvious, like, nostalgia thing that, oh, it's a team that won Worlds for you, so it's obviously a team that you would love. The team was, like, from a technical standpoint, was really, really good. In the official circuit, there is something that it's more like old school stuff, but we used to say, like, hey, and if you have like a fire, water, grass core on your team, or a dragon, fairy, steel core on your team, like your team is probably good. It's probably good, at least in the theory. And in that team, I accomplished those two cores. Like, I had a fire, water, grass core, and Incineroar, Gastrodon, Kartana, and I also had a dragon, fairy, steel core, and like Salamence, Tapu Koko, and Kartana. So I had like the two main cores that used to determine the consistency of your team synergy. I had it on that team, and I had really strong modes with these Snorlax being like a monster, like a really strong win condition. It was like a well-balanced team with like really strong anti-meta picks like the Gastrodon that no one really thought about Gastrodon being serious back then. And I was the one that said, like, hey, this Pokemon is really good. If I manage to find a way to use it consistently, I know I can do well. So the team was really good. And besides that, my 2017 Worlds team also was really, really like a good team for me. It was one of my favorites. It has some like similar things to the 2018 team, to be fair. I think the idea, even though they were different formats, different seasons, like 2017, we didn't have Mega Evolutions, for example. We only had to play with C moves, and we had like a limited decks. And then 2018 was open decks, and we had Mega Evolutions, but the concepts were really similar. Like, I had Salamence in both teams, I had Tapu Koko in both teams, I had Snorlax in both teams. But the 2017 had Marowak, which honestly grew on me. I was not a big fan of the Alolan Marowak at first. I always loved Marowak, like the Cantonian Marowak from the anime. Like, I thought it was a cool Pokemon.
From a design standpoint, or?
Yeah, from a science standpoint. I was like, yeah, the Marowak with the bone and like skull. I loved it. But competitively, I honestly didn't know how Marowak could work until we got the Alolan forms, and we got the Alolan Marowak with like the
Lightning
fire
rod
on the nose, and like I was like, oh, this Pokemon looks great. And then when I actually, started playing the whole season, I saw that a lot of people were using Marowak, and it was like, this Pokemon competitively is also good. So it was really good for the format, and I included in my team. So I really loved that team because it had Marowak,
cool.
and obviously my favorite of all time, which is Salamence.
Sounds cool. What are your expectations for Worlds 2025?
Well, that's a really tough question. I think honestly, Pokemon has changed quite a bit over the course of the years, and the game itself has become different for me and for a lot of people probably that have been playing since the early days. And in terms of expectations, I probably want to say I want to do really well. I've been prepping a lot, like super hard, but at this point, with all the changes, I feel like it doesn't matter how hard you prep. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't matter how hard you prep, you need to have a good day, and you need to have a good team.
Yeah.
Like, you can prep super hard. Like last Wars, for example, I prepped super hard, and I didn't have a good day. Like, my team was really strong into Miraidon teams, and I faced 0 Miraidon. And Miraidon won the World Championship.
Yeah.
So I was like, my team was super strong against Miraidon, and I knew Miraidon was going to be probably the main candidate to win the World Championships. And I faced 0. And the teams that ended up doing super well, I had played against them in practice a lot of times, and I had like a super, super good win rate, like 90-10 win rate for me in my favor, and I didn't face any. So I was like, yeah, it was just not meant to be. So this time I'm trying to be maybe less focused on just being super good against a team like last year, and like neutral against the majority of teams, and just trying to be more, let's say, open-minded in how the metagame is, because at this point there are some obvious archetypes that everyone knows are going to show up for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna hope that, let's say, I obviously think at least for now, I could change in the next weeks, but at least for now I think I have a good team that I've been prepping with. But I'm gonna try to just focus on me as a player, like not on the team anymore. Because last year I focused a lot on the team. Like, hey, this team is really good into this like Miraidon trend that is everywhere. So I hope that I face a lot of Miraidons and I face zero. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna back to like my roots and say I'm gonna focus on myself as a player and having a good team, not an amazing team, and just have hope that I have a good day and I'm like prepared enough. In terms of expectations, I hope I do well. I'm gonna say that. Like, I hope I do well. Like, doing well is, maybe a subjective. Like, doing well can be like making day 2, or for other people it could be just like
Winning work.
maybe finishing positive, or for someone like me, to be fair, doing well is making Top God. Like, that's my main goal. I want to make Top God of Worlds, and I want to try to go as far as I can, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. And I'm super looking forward to. We'll be watching Worlds on stream, so hopefully we're gonna see you pop up there and root a little bit. I think it's gonna be
Thank you.
Really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully.
We talked a little bit about younger players that are starting now, but what would you say directly to somebody that wants to get into VGC but feels it might be a little bit too complex or inaccessible? How to start learning VGC? What's the best way to do it?
Yeah, that is a good question. I feel like for someone like completely new, obviously you need to have some sort of maybe, motivation to be involved into this community. Maybe it's like you like Pokemon, right? Like you're a Pokemon fan, or you are interested in the battles because you like strategic stuff. Whatever motivation is for you to get involved into VGC, try to cherish that and say like, okay, I'm here because I want to have fun, for example, or I'm here because I like strategic games, or I'm here because I like Pokemon, and I saw like there's like this option for like really cool battles, so I want to get into that. Whatever your motivation is, don't forget about it. Like, have it always there. And then, of course, motivation is definitely the main starting point, but that's just the starting point or the first step. Then when you get involved into this, you're gonna find a world where like you maybe think like, oh, this is too complex, there are lots of things, this is like a different world. Don't get, let's say, too scared of it, because at the end of the day, this is about having fun. So pick a team. Nowadays we have a lot of resources like YouTube channels, like websites. Pick a team that is maybe public. Watch some of the content out there to see maybe more experienced players playing with the team, how they explain the games they are obviously experiencing, and then try to put your hands in that team, obviously with whatever advices they gave to you or whatever information you managed to find on the internet, and then try to have fun. When I started, my main goal was having fun, right? Like, I want to play. I was not playing with super, like, let's say, super competitive teams. I had some competitive elements on my teams, but other things were like, let's say, just for fun. And sometimes I got demolished because obviously my team was not super competitive and I was playing against like hardcore competitors, and obviously there was like a big difference, not only in experience but also in the team compositions. But I was still having fun, and depending on how, let's say, each one is as a person, sometimes I understand there might be some people that like, if you lose, you don't have fun and you feel like, oh yeah, I'm losing, maybe this is not for me, I should just try something else. But for me, it was like, I'm losing and I don't want to lose because I'm a very competitive person. So I used those experiences to try hard. Like, maybe I'm going to try something else. Maybe what I saw, I'm also interested in trying something similar. Like, why is these people using this Pokemon so much? And then we didn't have nearly as much as the resources we have nowadays, so it was more like a try and error thing for me. There was not like a lot of YouTube content. We did have a couple of YouTubers back then. The main one was Aaron Cybertron BGC, which was someone that when I started taking BGC seriously was there, and I had someone to look after and watching his videos, for example. So that's why I think watching, let's say, YouTube content, like competitive YouTube content, is really, really useful. It was really useful for me back then. It is still really useful nowadays for a lot of people. So use that as a way to start. And then the last advice I can give now is don't forget to have fun. It's really easy for us to, especially if you're a competitive person, to like focus on winning and like, I want to do everything I can to win, and then forget about the main reason why you started doing this, which is having fun. When a game is not fun anymore, then probably it loses its purpose. And at least for me, some people ask me like, or they have asked me like, why do you keep playing? You already won the world championships. Why do you keep playing? And one of the main answers I give is because I'm still having fun playing Pokemon. If I don't have fun, probably I would quit. And this time for certain. But I try to still find joy in what I'm doing and still having fun. So that's why, for example, my teams, you know, I'm a super hardcore competitive player, of course, but I would say that I have a lot of obviously similar things than other really hardcore competitive players. But there's one thing that I think I have as a difference, which is that of course, difference compared to the majority of hardcore competitive players. There are some players that probably have the same thing or the same feeling. I don't like using what is popular. I personally don't find joy doing that. I don't have fun using something that I didn't build, something that I was not involved in the team building process, or something that is just everywhere. At least exactly everywhere, like exactly that same team is everywhere. For an official tournament, you can do that for fun to practice online, but for an official tournament, something that still makes me having fun up to this day is building my own teams and putting some spicy picks there. Like it's just how I like playing the game. You would probably never see me in an official tournament with a team that is everywhere or exactly with that team, because I could do it. Like I'm pretty sure that just because of, let's say, my experience and my skill level, I would probably pick a team like that is already super consistent and do well. Once again, doing well doesn't mean winning the tournament. Just do well, like just being a strong contender for winning the tournament. But it doesn't just bring me joy. I don't like doing that. I feel lost when I'm using something like that. So my, let's say, requirement, or my, you know, self-imposed requirement is that if I'm still doing Pokemon until this year, I have to still find a way to have fun. And one of the ways I have fun is building my own teams, finding like weird stuff that no one uses, being more open-minded in your Pokemon picks. Because I feel like a game would be boring if everyone just uses the same, every single time. It would be probably super hard, but it would be boring for me. And Pokemon has a lot of options. Of course, there are options that are better than others, but if you always think of like what everyone is using and you only close your vision to those, I don't know, 20, 30 limited pool of Pokemon, then you will probably be missing a lot of opportunities. And in my particular case, I would not have fun.
I mean, winning with your favorites is hard, but as someone who has won with their favorites, I mean, that is kind of fun to try, right?
Yeah. As long as your favorite is not Caterpie, you should be.
Yes, precisely. And again, thank you so much for speaking. I just want to finalize by letting you, if people want to reach out to you on social media or contact you for some coaching sessions, how can they find you?
Yeah, sure. I'm usually pretty active on Twitter, or like X. I still call it Twitter, by the way. I'm pretty active there. My Twitter handle is RalphDude90, at RalphDude90. And you can also find me on Metafy. That's the platform I use for coaching sessions. Metafy.gg/@RalphDude. Ralph with F, right? I use those two. Of course, one is my, let's say, main social media, and the other is my work platform where I do coaching. I also do YouTube. I have two channels, one in Spanish for the main Latin American, like, say, audience. And then I have another one in English too. The Spanish one goes by RalphDude90, and the other goes by RalphDude Lab, the laboratory, let's say, for sure. And yeah, you can find me there, and I would be obviously really, really happy to have you if you want a coaching session, or just have you as a follower or like a subscriber if you want to follow my content.
Sounds super cool. Then thanks so much for speaking to me. Thanks so much for being an example and inspiration for the Latin American VGC playing community. And best of luck in Worlds.
Thank you. I will try my best. As I said, I cannot exactly tell, what doing well means, but I'm going to try my best to represent my region the best possible way this time.